In a quiet corner of Brooklyn, there exists a kind of bar most people never notice. On the surface, it looks like any other neighborhood watering hole, but every so often, one of these bars gets chosen for a single, secret night. On that night, it becomes what the underworld calls a drop bar, a temporary vault where dirty cash from all over the city flows in and out, carried by anonymous bagmen, before vanishing again by morning. The bar owner never knows in advance when his place will be picked. He only finds out when the money starts arriving. At one such bar, we meet Bob, a soft-spoken bartender with tired eyes and a past nobody talks about. He moves through his shifts quietly, pouring drinks, wiping counters, never drawing attention to himself. The bar belongs on paper to his cousin Marv, a bitter, prideful man who once owned the place outright before losing it to the Chechen mob a decade earlier. In reality, the true owners are the Chechens themselves, led by an old crime family that uses the bar as one of its rotating drop points. A group of regulars, old-timers who've been drinking there for years, raise a toast one evening to a friend, long gone, a man named Richie Whelan, who vanished and was presumably murdered 10 years before. Bob quietly gives them a round on the house, a small act of kindness that instantly irritates Marv, who snaps that this is a business, not a charity. Marv is even angrier to learn that Bob lets an elderly regular drink and smoke for free when he's not around. Bob doesn't see the harm in it, but he swallows his cousin's scolding without argument. He's a devout Catholic, a Sunday regular at the local parish, though there's something he's hiding even from his own church. Walking home one night, Bob hears whimpering coming from a trash can. Inside, he finds a badly beaten pit bull puppy, barely alive. The homeowner, a guarded young woman named Nadia, steps outside to confront him, suspicious of a stranger digging through her trash. After she checks his ID and even snaps a photo to send to a friend for safety, the two of them clean and bandage the puppy's wounds together. Bob notices bruising around Nadia's neck but doesn't push. She mentions she once worked at an animal shelter, and the two agree the dog shouldn't go back there. Bob convinces her to keep the puppy safe for a couple of days until he can properly take him in. Elsewhere in the neighborhood, two brothers are planning something reckless, robbing Marv's bar. The older brother is confident it'll prove something to the people above them. The younger one, a nervous addict, is terrified everyone knows this bar quietly answers to the Chechens, but he goes along with it anyway. That night, masked men storm the bar just before closing, forcing Marv to empty the register at gunpoint. Marv calmly warns them they've picked the wrong place to rob. During the chaos, Bob notices one of the robbers is wearing a watch, cracked and stopped at exactly 6:15. Afterward, the bar's night worker is found beaten to death out back. A detective named Torres arrives to investigate a man who has silently attended the same church as Bob for years, though they've never spoken. Bob mentions the broken watch, but downplays everything else. Torres notices something odd too. Bob never takes communion. Bob brushes it off, quietly ashamed of a past he's never confessed. Marv is furious that Bob told the police anything at all, certain it will bring the Chechens' wrath down on them. Bob returns for the puppy, and Nadia joins him to buy supplies from a pet store, Bowls, a leash, a proper guide on raising a dog. Bob wants to name him Mike. Nadia insists on Rocco, since a statue of Saint Rocco, patron of dogs, happens to sit in Bob's own church. Rocco it is, even though Bob keeps calling him Mike under his breath. Unseen from a distance, a menacing figure named Eric Deeds watches them from across the street. Soon after, the Chechen boss, a cold and calculating man named Chovka, pays Marv and Bob a visit. He's captured one of the robbers badly tortured, his foot nailed to the floor of a van, and demands to know if they recognize him. Both deny it. Chovka also wants to know how the police learned about the broken watch. Bob nervously apologizes. Chovka orders Marv to recover the stolen money, a demand that terrifies Marv, since finding it so easily would only suggest he was involved in the robbery all along. Detective Torres keeps digging and learns that Marv lost his bar 10 years earlier to the Chechens' patriarch. He asks a colleague in organized crime if there's any real effort to bring the family down, but she tells him they're untouchable, and jokes that he's welcome to try alone. Bob, now caring for Rocco full-time, is clearly a rookie dog owner, cleaning up messes around the house daily. At a dog park, Nadia recently laid off from her waitressing job offers to help watch Rocco for a little extra income. Bob agrees eagerly. The two exchange numbers. Right after she leaves, Eric approaches Bob, commenting on the dog with an unsettling familiarity. Bob, unnerved, quickly walks away with Rocco. Marv, meanwhile, lives with his sister Dottie and looks after their father, who lies brain dead in a nursing facility, kept alive by machines. Dottie wants to let him go and finally live her own life, maybe travel. Marv refuses, insisting they owe their father everything. Later, Marv meets privately with Fitz, one of the robbers, and reveals that he was behind the whole robbery from the start. He's furious that Fitz's brother wore a broken watch and beat the night worker badly enough to bring in an ambulance. And with it, the police. Marv wants their bar to be chosen as a drop point again. And this time, he wants the job done cleanly. On the street, a menacing stranger stops Marv and asks directions to the hospital. Something about the man leaves Marv deeply uneasy. Back home, Bob is interrupted by Eric, who lets himself in uninvited and claims Rocco is legally his, citing an implanted microchip as proof of ownership. Bob refuses to believe him, but Eric hints darkly that things could get complicated for Bob if he doesn't cooperate, then casually steals his umbrella on the way out. Bob and Nadia grow closer, over coffee. She opens up about the scars on her neck, a suicide attempt years earlier during a difficult period in her life. She was searching for a way out and nearly found the wrong one. But she survived and has since rebuilt her life. Bob doesn't judge her. He simply listens. Back at the bar, Marv shares his growing paranoia with Bob about the strange man asking for directions, convinced his life might be in danger. A decade after losing everything to the Chechens, Marv is still consumed by resentment and self-loathing. Then Bob discovers something horrifying in a trash bag left outside the stolen money, soaked in blood, along with a robber's severed hand and his shattered watch. Someone wants them to know the debt has been settled violently. Without flinching, Bob calmly and expertly wraps the hand for disposal, a skill that visibly unsettles Marv. While disposing of evidence, Eric barges into the bar unexpectedly. Marv scrambles to get rid of him. Marv is stunned to learn that Bob and Eric already know each other, and grows even more alarmed once he learns Eric is widely rumored to be the man who killed Richie Whelan all those years ago. He warns Bob to stay far away from him. Unshaken, Bob quietly disposes of the severed hand in the river, then brushes off Torres when the detective asks whether he knows Eric Deeds. Later, the Chechens collect their recovered money and inform Marv and Bob that their bar will serve as the drop point on Super Bowl night, the biggest cash flow of the year. Eric confronts Bob again, oddly fixated on whether Nadia has hurt herself again recently. Rattled, Bob asks Nadia directly how she knows Eric, and she bolts, clearly shaken by the question. Marv, continuing his secret plan, meets with Fitz again, but Fitz, terrified after losing his brother, wants nothing to do with another job and just wants to survive. During a tense car ride, Marv brutally runs Fitz down and kills him, eliminating the last loose end connected to the original robbery. Nadia later opens up fully to Bob she and Eric used to date, and what began sweetly turned frightening before she finally got away. She also tells him what most people already believe, that Eric was the one who killed Richie Whelan. Meanwhile, Marv meets with Eric and tells him Bob is intimidated by him, secretly setting a plan in motion to replace Eric with Fitz for the Super Bowl heist and buy himself some room to maneuver. Detective Torres, digging into Eric's psychiatric history, finds something in the file that stops him cold. At home, Bob finds Rocco locked safely in his crate, but his stolen umbrella is sitting beside him, a clear message that Eric has been inside his home. Bob confronts Eric and refuses to hand the dog back, so Eric demands $10,000 instead. When Bob says he can't afford it, Eric threatens to starve Rocco and smash his head with a rock if the dog dares to whine for food. Bob is left speechless with fury. Marv tells Bob he won't be at the bar during the Super Bowl drop, insisting he has something under control. Bob senses his cousin is planning something dangerous. Marv, worn down by years of humiliation since losing the bar, lashes out over something as small as which barstool Bob gives to the elderly regular, convinced it's meant to mock him. That night, Bob hides $10,000 and a handgun in the basement alongside Rocco. Elsewhere, Eric forces his way into Nadia's home and pressures her into joining him at the bar. To avoid provoking him further, she reluctantly agrees, devastating Bob when the two arrive together. As the drop unfolds, dozens of anonymous bagmen filter through with bricks of cash until only Bob, Nadia, and Eric remain. Eric steps outside to smoke, giving Nadia a chance to warn Bob that Eric intends to shoot him the moment he returns. When Eric comes back in, Bob offers him cash in exchange for the dog. Eric sneers that he'd rather have what's in the safe instead. Calmly, almost gently, Bob begins to tell Eric the real story of Richie Whelan, how Marv, once a small-time loan shark, was owed money by Richie, who paid back only part of his debt after a big win at the casino. To make sure no one ever found out Marv had been repaid, Bob tracked Richie down and shot him twice in the face. Then Bob asks Eric a simple, chilling question: if Bob is the one who actually killed Richie Whelan, how has Eric been taking credit for it all these years? Before Eric can answer, Bob shoots him twice in the face. He tells a horrified Nadia that she is finally free of Eric, free of danger, and that he trusts her never to say a word. She flees into the night, equal parts terrified and unable to process what she's just witnessed. The Chechens arrive shortly after to quietly dispose of the body. Impressed by how Bob handled everything, the family's patriarch informs him the bar is now his to run, and even renames it in his honor. Bob insists he's just a bartender, but he's told, plainly, that he's the new Marv now. Outside, Marv spots the same unsettling stranger from earlier walking toward his car. He seems to understand exactly what's about to happen. Moments later, he's shot dead. When Torres arrives to investigate Marv's death and Eric's sudden disappearance, Bob shows no surprise, simply noting that this is the kind of neighborhood where such things happen. Torres mentions the old church is being sold off for development and asks if Bob will be there for the final closing. Bob says he will. It also comes out that Eric couldn't possibly have killed Richie Whelan. He was locked away in a psychiatric facility at the time. Leaning in close, Torres quietly tells Bob that he's certain no one ever saw him coming. He's confident Bob is behind both deaths. But without solid proof, and with no desire to tangle with the Chechens, there's nothing he can do. In the final scene, Bob brings Rocco to see Nadia. He apologizes for everything that happened that night at the bar, admitting he's ashamed of who he used to be, but explaining that men like Eric never stop unless someone finally stops them. He asks if they can spend more time together. Nadia is clearly frightened of him now, and yet unmistakably drawn to him at the same time. After a long pause, she agrees, grabbing her jacket to join him.